Hey guys, so this next drill is about the merger of two large software providers. Actually, one really large one, Oracle, and another one that's hypothetical, SoftSales. Okay, so let's get to it. I'll show you the framework question, and then you can come up with your answer for it, and then move on to the hypothesis testing question. Again, I'm not going to show you my framework answer because this is not the point of this drill. The point of this drill is hypothesis testing. So here's our case question. Oracle, a giant multinational computer technology corporation, specialized in developing and marketing enterprise software solutions such as ERP software, CRM software, and SCM software, which are enterprise resources planning, customer relationships management, and supply chain management. They are currently considering acquiring a rapidly growing medium software company called SoftSales that has one main product, a cloud-based CRM software. How would you help them with that decision? Now, before we move on, I want to remark that this software that they have made is really successful, is really helping out clients, and that's why they're gaining a lot of market share. So, should Oracle buy SoftSales? So, once you have your framework set, let's move on to the hypothesis testing question. So in this case, you said at some point during your framework presentation, I need to test whether it would make sense for Oracle to buy SoftSales for their software versus developing its own similar product. Then, at that moment, the interviewer interrupted you. That's interesting. How would you figure that out? So you have to stop your framework question, your framework answer, and you gotta answer the interviewer's question. And now, again, like before, I'm gonna clear my thoughts by structuring my hypothesis into a cause, an effect, and a consequence. Now, in this case, there's a lot happening, okay? So it could make sense for us to buy them for their software versus developing it because it would be cheaper, because it would be a better software, or because they're capturing market share so fast that it would be hard to compete if we waited too long. And that too long would mean the time to develop a similar software. So let me structure that. The first cause here, which is the most likely hypothesis, is SoftSales is rapidly capturing market share with their product. The effect of this is, in the development time, SoftSales will have captured a large chunk of market share. And as a consequence, it would be too hard to compete even with a similar product after they have a large client base. I'm assuming, of course, that the switching costs are high, which they usually are for enterprise systems. If for some reason in this new different product that they have, it's not, everything changes, okay? Now, other hypotheses that are important here are software style is much appreciated by the market and is very different from what Oracle's used to make. And that is a necessary assumption for it being more expensive for us to develop, or for it being bad, for their software to be necessarily better. So one of those. SoftSales devs are more efficient in developing that style of software and are hard to poach, so I can't just hire them. Or SoftSales devs are much better at developing that kind of software. All right? And it would be too costly to develop a similar product in-house. That's the consequence of the second hypothesis. And the consequence of the third is a similar product developed in-house would be significantly worse. So I get two main hypotheses out of this. They are SoftSales is capturing market share too quickly. It would be harder to compete with them once they have a large customer base. So it's not worth the wait to develop in-house. Or else, SoftSales is much better or more efficient in making that style of software, and competing with a different one would not be competitive. So developing in-house would be either too costly or quality would not be acceptable. Okay? Now let's test those 2 or 3 hypotheses. Now that I have them structured into cause, effect, and consequence, it's much simpler for me to test. Alright, so the first one is SoftSales is capturing share too quickly. Second one, in-house development would be too costly. And third one, software developed in-house would not be competitive. So for the first one, first thing I want to know is how long it would take us to develop that kind of software. And to find that out, I'd probably just simply estimate with specialists. I might want to divide the project into phases and estimate time for each phase, but I'm definitely going to need a specialist to help me with that. If I need to, I benchmark that with other projects that I've done in-house and add an extra time or a percentile of extra time in specific phases due to the style of the software being much different, if it is, okay? Next, I need to know how fast have soft sales been capturing clients and by how much they could increase pace, especially if they got additional funding. So to look at the first question, I try to understand the history of growth in number of clients per month, and that would help me understand, have a perspective in the future, and of course how that growth has been changing, the growth rate has been changing. And I'd need to estimate their pace increased given potential funding. So they could increase sales force if they have additional funding, and that would make them grow much quicker if their product is so good. All right? Next, to find out if in-house development would be too costly, I'd first and especially need to know that soft sales devs are much more efficient in that style of software. If that's true, I'd also need to know if the style of software is different than what Oracle makes. If it's not different, then this is not an issue. That style of software is required to compete, because if it's different but we can do it in another style that we're used to and that would be fine with the market, then, well, that's not really a problem. And it's not possible to poach main devs. So if the style is different, and that style is also required by the market, I can always poach the main devs and have them work for me, and then I would still have their efficiency. So if I can't poach them, well, in-house development would be too costly. And to find out if software developed in-house would not be competitive, it's pretty much the same 3 last tests, but instead of knowing if soft sales devs are much more efficient, I need to know if they are more qualified in that style of software. And the next tests are the same. I've done them already. Okay, this is how I test this. You could have put the 2 last hypotheses together. That would be fine too. I chose to separate them because it makes everything clearer to me. Okay, all right. I hope this helped you, and I see you in the next one.